Hey guys, we are here to talk about thermals in the context of foam dart blasters. Do they work? If so, are they actually practical? And what scenarios would justify the use of a thermal sight on the foam dart toy blaster? Let's find out with these two units which I've tried and tested. Please note that these are my personal opinions after very limited testing, and your own personal experience with these thermals may be different. So do try them out if you get the chance and judge for yourself if they are truly worth it. Anyway, these are both thermals, but they are also quite different. This is the Holy Warrior THS thermal fusion sight, and this is the Virgo S2 mini thermal scope. Thank you very much to IFB for lending me this Holy Warrior THS thermal fusion sight for review. Major disclaimer, I have only tried and tested this unit at low risk environments and did not use it for an actual game. Because this is 1,700 Singapore dollars, I do not want to risk damaging it because it is borrowed from IFB and it is not mine. However, this Virgo S2 mini thermal scope is mine, and I used it for a few night games at Operation Pink Dolphin recently. It cost me about 600 Singapore dollars. I'm also going to make comparisons with both thermals in the context of Nerf as we move along. There are timestamps on this video, so please feel free to jump ahead to the next chapters or go back to a previous chapter if you wish. Here are the stats of the Real Steel one and this Holy Warrior one side by side. The obvious differences are that the Holy Warrior one has no video recording. However, this Holy Warrior sight seems to have similar thermal imaging capabilities. Obviously, I will not know the actual difference in performance and cannot compare this to the Real Steel version because we can't get Real Steel sights here. In terms of price, IFB is selling this Holy Warrior thermal fusion sight for 1,700 Singapore dollars. Yes, 1.7k. The Real Steel one is selling on Amazon USA for about
1,600 US dollars.
This is the only price comparison there is between this simplified replica and the Real Steel version. I'll talk more about the price after we go through these sight's functions. The Holy Warrior thermal sight came with a durable hard case. This Holy Warrior sight has a QD mount for Piccadilly rails. It can be used as a normal holographic sight. There are multiple reticle styles as shown here, and brightness is adjustable. There is some parallax as shown here, but do note that this is just a replica. Elevation and windage is adjustable, just like a normal holographic sight. Press and hold this button to switch the thermal on. Release the button after the green screen appears. Now the thermal effect is overlaid on the side picture. There is also a battery indicator on the top right corner of the screen. There are 3 selectable modes and the base color is green. White hot, which highlights heat signatures as white. Black hot, which is the reverse of white hot. And outline, which illuminates human silhouettes. These 3 modes can be used depending on the scenario. Brightness can be adjusted as well. There is also a zoom button here for the thermal screen, but I think it is quite redundant in the context of Nerf. There is an eye box for this sight, meaning you need to mount it and position it such that the thermal projected screen aligns nicely with the glass when you are looking through both the glass and the projected screen. Otherwise, the thermal image will look like after images in your side picture. Hence, it is very difficult to film the side picture properly for this video. It also feels like it will take some time to get used to aiming with this thermal overlay. Unfortunately, I will not be spending enough time with this Holy Warrior thermal sight to adjust well to it. Alternatively, you can just close the cap for the glass here and just look at the thermal screen only without any overlay on the glass. Which brings me to the actual usage and the pros and cons of this Holy Warrior thermal sight in the context of Nerf. Let's start with the cons. Personally, I found the thermal overlay with the side picture a little bit confusing due to the eye box and after images as mentioned earlier. Closing the side cover or simply using the thermal outline mode did help to eliminate these issues and make aiming smoother. Next con is that this Holy Warrior thermal is heavy and tall. It weighs about half a kilogram and is a very heavy sight to mount onto any blaster, which may limit movement and increase fatigue in the actual game. It is also very tall at about 9 cm. I tried zeroing this with a 20 meter target with the 200 FPS motorized piston pump AEB, and the darts keep hitting the bottom part of the door, with elevation already adjusted to maximum. With a 300 FPS blaster like the S400 Red Hair, it can probably hit the 20 meter target. But I don't see the point in zeroing a 300 FPS blaster for a mere distance of 20 meters when you can hit a human-sized target at 50 meters. So you'll need to use an incline riser with this thermal sight, which will make the sight sit even taller on your blaster. But if you're just using this Holy Warrior thermal sight for maybe around 8 to 10 meters with a 200 FPS blaster, you can probably get away without an incline riser. Also, there is this thing common among all thermal devices called non-uniformity correction, or NUC, when an internal shutter briefly swings in front of the sensor to calibrate the device for maximum image clarity. This will cause the thermal device to make clicking sounds when calibrating, and the screen may also freeze for a split second. When you first turn on the thermal device or move between areas with vastly different temperatures, you will click and refresh frequently to adapt to the new environment. And the screen did freeze a few times when I was testing it for the review video, so do expect this to happen in the middle of the game. But this is an inherent issue with all thermal devices. Of course, the biggest con is the price. The retail price at IFB is 1,700 Singapore dollars. Yes, it is crazy expensive in the context of Nerf. No arguments there. But there are some good things about this Holy Warrior thermal sight. It does look and feel quite sturdy and durable, with its aerospace grade 7075 CNC aluminum construction with hard anodized surface treatment. But you have to be insane to do a drop test with this, intentional or not. My blood pressure goes up every time I'm holding this. According to the specifications, the battery is supposed to last about 26 hours with thermal switched on, so that is quite cool. It also looks very cool and tactical, and its aesthetics will definitely appeal to the cosplay and milsim community who also play Nerf. The biggest pro about this Holy Warrior thermal sight is of course its thermal capabilities. It is essentially pay to win if you play at night games, at arenas with low light, or at forest games with plenty of ghillie snipers. It is extremely difficult to use the cover of darkness or vegetation to hide from the thermal sight. Its thermal overlay also allows you to see through the glass to the target and still maintain a good level of situational awareness with your peripheral vision, which you are unable to do up close if you close the cap and just stare at the screen only. This brings us to the Virgo S2 mini thermal sight. The Virgo comes in a box like this. It is a compact and lightweight device weighing about 200 grams with a battery and the optional QD flip to side mount. It can be mounted onto a Piccadilly rail on the blaster as an actual aiming sight, or can be handheld as a spotting tool. It can also be mounted onto a Diana Flywheel blaster with its RMR mount. Here are some quick infographics on screen. I'm using my own night core battery here, and on a full charge, it lasted about 4.5 hours with continuous usage before it switched off by itself. Press and hold the on button to start it up. Swipe left or right to switch between 5 color palettes: Rainbow, Violet, Black Hot, White Hot, and Red Monochrome. The battery indicator is also at the top. Swipe up to change the reticle. Swipe down to change the reticle color. double tap the screen to zoom 2x and 3x, but I find this function unnecessary as it just makes the display more pixelated. Tap and hold the screen to adjust settings such as brightness and zeroing. It is best to reduce the brightness to minimal so the screen does not light up like a Christmas tree in the dark. I shall elaborate more on the zeroing later. Press the camera button to take a picture. Press and hold the same button to start and stop recording. Yes, this Thermo can take pictures and record videos too, but do not expect HD quality. Similar to the Holy Warrior Thermo, the Virgo S2 Thermo needs an inclined riser for use with a foam dart blaster. Its overall height looks and feels alright to me when mounted onto the MPP. Let's talk about the pros first. I used it for a few night games and it performed extremely well. It almost felt as if I was cheating. Opponents were easy to spot, engage and call out, which translated to a big advantage for the entire team. This is essentially pay to win. I also love the rainbow color palette because it reminds me of the movie Predator. The display screen is also easy to see and use, and there is no parallax or eye box to worry about. Just point and shoot, that's it. It is versatile, simple and easy to use. It is compact and lightweight. It is extremely interesting and fun to use too. Personally, for 200 FPS blasters like the MPP, I will use this Virgo S2 Thermo sight directly as a red dot sight. But for 300 FPS blasters like the Kunlun and S400, I'll probably flip this over and mount it sideways, or keep it flipped to the left side of the blaster as a spotting tool instead, to spot and track opponents in the field while I engage them with the LPVO. I will probably try this configuration soon to see if it works well. For low FPS blasters like the Diana, I guess it will still work at close ranges of about 8 to 10 meters. I will probably try this out in my next CQB game too. Now let's talk about the cons of this Thermo sight. The biggest one being the price. IFB is selling a similar model called the Esteda T2 Mini at about 750 Singapore dollars, with the same specifications as the Virgo S2, but square shaped instead of round shaped. The price is definitely not cheap, but compared to the Holy Warrior THS thermal sight at 1,700 Singapore dollars, and price points of thermals devices in general, $750 is actually quite an acceptable price. The next con is the zeroing. Zeroing this thing means pressing the arrow icons to shift the red dot across the screen for windage and elevation. So if you have OCD and must have your reticle fixed right in the center of the screen, then this thermal sight is not for you. I admit I was a little bit turned off by this at first, but I eventually got used to it. Many blasters are just not straight and a little bit crooked at the Picatinny rails. But physically adjusting the positioning of the mount and angle of the incline riser may help. I will try to make the reticle more centralized next time by adjusting the sights mounting bracket as it has a little bit of play before securing it, and also the level of incline for the riser. Also, you will need to place a heat pack or something that emits or retains heat on the target when zeroing, or ask someone to help you call out where the shots land. Otherwise, there will be no point of reference to aim at. Or you can just ask someone to volunteer as a human target. Another con is that constantly staring at the display screen in-game gave me a slight headache. But this is probably an individual issue and may not apply to everyone. But staring constantly at the screen did seem to reduce my situational awareness and peripheral vision. So if you are using this Virgo S2 or equivalent at night games, please be extra careful and watch your step. Also, as mentioned earlier about NUC, when you first turn on the thermal device or move between areas with vastly different temperatures, you will click and refresh frequently to adapt to the new environment. Hence, it is best to switch on the Virgo S2 thermal sight 5 to 10 minutes before the start of every game to let it warm up and calibrate itself first. Also, the screen froze for a split second a couple of times during my night games, so do expect this to happen with thermal visions. Overall, these thermal sights are very fun to play with. They can be used together with foam dart blasters very effectively. But they do have their own pros and cons, the main con being the high price, as this category of sights is still in the early adopter stage in the context of foam dart blasting. But please go ahead to get one if you can afford it, or maybe wait a few years to see if the prices go down. Hope you have enjoyed this review and found it helpful. Do check out these other videos here. Thank you and see you.